So thank you very much.
Thanks, Fiona. Great to see so many familiar names and faces on here, and brilliant to have the third year of the school college partnership event, and it's been really well received from schools and colleges across all local authorities, all the country as well. So great to have everyone here, and hopefully you can stay for the full session. And as Fiona said, we'll record everything and put it on our platform as well. But I'm the lead for Learner Pathways at SCQF Partnerships, and you'll see me quite often on Twitter, or you'll see me on through school visits and running our school ambassador program. So we've got around 220 schools involved in the program, supporting schools to introduce new partnerships with colleges, but also introduce new qualifications and exciting opportunities for young people. But that's enough about us, and I will hand over to our chair, who is Marie Hendry, our chief exec from CDN, who has very kindly agreed to take up the role for tonight and keep us on track, and hopefully lots of questions from you later on. Thanks, Marie.
Smashing. Thanks very much, Donny. Afternoon, everyone. It's amazing to see so many of you here today. Both from, I recognise some of the college names that are in front of me, but also to see so many of you here from schools. I can tell from the Mr. and the Miss and the Ms in front of your names, so it's absolutely fantastic that we've got representation from both. And I'm sure that this is going to be, as Donny was saying, this is the third year that SCQF have ran this event. I'm sure this year is going to be as informative and as interesting as the previous years have been, and the feedback from them has been tremendous. As Fiona and Donny were saying, my name is Marie Hendry. I'm hugely delighted to be here and be able to chair this session today, and hoping that it will showcase a range of school and college partnerships across the length and breadth of the country, and the really strong partnerships that there are and that have been developed through the programmes, and of course, most importantly, that then given the range of ways that our young people can actually progress their learning through different pathways and programmes, utilising the SCQF levels in the senior phase and then into college and beyond. You know, the SCQF really is a lifelong learning tool to be able to do that. I'm particularly excited to be here because in my day job, as Fiona was saying, I'm Chief Executive of the College Development Network, so we undertake training and development for the college sector and for lecturers and that as well. So really excited to see the partnership that actually is happening within colleges with schools. I'm also really honoured to be on the board of the SCQF partnership as well. So I've got a bit of a dual hat on today. So just really excited to be able to see hear examples of really great partnerships and to be able to get your thoughts on that as well, and any questions that you've got and any comments, and actually just be able to give you a little bit of information about some really great partnerships that are happening. And if you're interested in that, you know, ask some questions, get some advice and some information. And I know Fiona, Donny and the team at SCQF will be happy to pick up questions afterwards as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from a couple of the really great partnerships that are actually happening. So the first one, we'll hear from Eric and Catrina at Glasgow Clyde College about some of the partnership activity that they do. Then we'll give you a bit of a chance to ask any sort of questions that you've got, make any sort of comments. And then we'll hear from Lauren and Ed, who are at MacAskill, North East College, and their partner at Fraserburgh Academy. And then again, you'll have the chance to you know, ask any questions. If you've got a question, if you think of a question while the presentations are on, please feel free to pop your hand up and we'll come to you at the end of it, and then we'll ask, you know, we'll get you to ask questions in the middle of it as well. If you want to use the chat function, Fiona and Donny are going to have a look at that as well, and they'll feed any sort of questions that we've got into me through that, or we can take them at the end of the session. So you'll have plenty of opportunity and plenty of time to be able to ask questions and get involved. And, you know, if you've got examples as well, you can please feel free to feed those in as well. Okay, without any further ado, I think we will hear from Eric and Catrina if they are able to start their presentation.
Yep, thanks, Marie. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, hear you perfectly.
Great, thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be here. My name's Eric Brownlie. I'm the Assistant Principal at Glasgow Clyde College, and my colleague Catrina McGregor is on the call, and she is School Liaison Manager and has been working on the school-college partnerships for a large number of years, so is the one with all the real knowledge. But we'll just cover a few slides briefly, giving more of an overview of how we use SCQF, how it fits with our portfolio, how it's developing, and how it's helping us progress students, and then open it up for 5 or 10 minutes of questions, thoughts, observations. So want to get to that bit. So please feel free to ask anything you like. I'll try and share so we can kick it off. You just bear with us. Getting a wee bit of feedback here. Not sure if anyone's. Oh, that's it. Gone now. Thanks. Can you see that presentation slide? You can. Great. Let me just get my cursor over. If I can. So, yeah, so Glasgow Clyde, 3 large campuses across the south and west of Glasgow. And we deliver quite a large scale school college portfolio. Let me just move that on. We cover 3 local authorities in terms of our overall provision. So that's Glasgow, East Renfrewshire and East Dumbarton. And that covers about 45 secondary schools, up to 1,000 learners in any kind of year. That's the 22-23 figures, over 60 programmes. We cover levels 4 to 7 of the SCQF in terms of our provision, and it delivers over 5,000 credits, which is significant in this landscape of reducing credits that we're in colleges. So it's an important part of the provision. And another thing I'll talk a little bit about later is the internal progression that we value really highly, which is those pupils who are on school college partnerships progressing into mainstream full-time programmes. And we've got about a 44% conversion rate in relation to applications to actual enrolments. Now, a lot of people sometimes don't want to progress or have other options, but we're certainly keen to make sure that that's a streamlined process. Quite a breadth of delivery across the provision that we offer. The biggest one is in the care sector. And I'll kind of break that down in a moment, but it does cover all those portfolio areas. So there's quite a breadth and depth to that provision, and that's something again that we've seen as really important to hang on to and deliver that provision across all 3 campuses and in schools as well. So what kind of levels do we deliver at? That just shows you from last year into this year's provision that the breakdown across the different SCQF levels of our school college portfolio. You can see right away there's been a reduction at level 6, which is down to foundation apprenticeships, not delivering and not recruiting to the same level. We can maybe get into that. I'd be really interested to hear from our school colleagues their views on foundation apprenticeships, because some of them are struggling to recruit and deliver, certainly in Glasgow. And there's been a slight increase at levels 4, 5 and 7 in terms of our provision. So the courses that we deliver, that's by HMI sector, that's not across our faculties. So breaking it down to the different HMI areas, the majority of provision might offer 3, 4 or 5 courses across the different campuses. That will often be a mix of groups from different local authorities. So, you know, to make courses viable, if we can get 5 students from East Renfrewshire, another 5 from East Dumbartonshire and some from Glasgow, that helps. And it also mixes the groups up so they're not all coming from the same local authority or certainly from the same school. The care provision you can see is dominating, and there's a good spread there across the other areas. Just moving on from that quickly, that gives you an idea of the different qualifications and the balance of different SCQF levels within those qualifications. So there's quite a range there, purple being level 4 through to red being level 7. Again, you can see there's significant provision using PDAs, using NPAs and using skills for work provision, as well as foundation apprenticeships. But there's a range of other things depending on the bespoke needs. So, for example, at level 7, there is provision with HN units in some of the medical areas that add value to students who might want to go and do medicine or do other types of qualifications. Just moving on from that, and an example of a kind of bespoke course descriptor that we would use across all of our prospectus information. So that's an example of a cybersecurity qualification at level 6. And we would try to provide really clear information for all the young people in schools, for teaching staff and for parents or carers, so that they can understand the level, an outline of the course, the types of skills that they're developing during it, and the progression opportunities that are available. So we develop those for every course that we offer. And on to progression, and I do want to just kind of touch on this for a moment. We've been trying really hard to improve the progression, because there is a lot of pressure on a lot of mainstream courses, and we have an internal progression process within our own college that guarantees students or pupils to move to the next SCQF level, and we've made that really clear to everyone and staff across the college that there's an expectation that they would move generally within the same subject area, but to the next SCQF level, and that should be an absolute expectation for all pupils studying, and that includes school pupils. So we're pushing the numbers up a little bit over the last couple of years, and across our courses we've got about 38% of those courses that we mentioned, about 63 courses last year, where over 50% of learners will make an application to progress. And we've got about 44%, as I said, of those students progressing from an application to an enrolment on their mainstream programmes. And some are stronger than others in terms of the pathways between the SCQF levels, whether that's 5 to 6 or 6 into 7 at HN level study. So that's one that we are really working hard to ensure that those pathways are easy, streamlined for students to make that progression. And the last slide is just a few areas that Catrina might want to pick up on with myself. I've mentioned guaranteed progression. The Enhanced Vocational Inclusion Programme that we run in conjunction with Glasgow City Council has over 100 pupils, generally S4 level, who are furthest from engaging with the senior phase. And there's been programs running across all 3 Glasgow colleges for a number of years to support those young people who have generally been care experienced, generally in disadvantaged backgrounds, are not engaging with school, and we are building a college programme for them, which generally means up to 4 or 5 days in college, with obviously a lot of support going alongside that. It's been really successful in terms of the pathways from level 4 and level 5 into the next vocational pathways, and especially for those young people who have probably not been successful in school. So the EVIP, as it's titled, has been a really successful programme. I think there's going to be a kind of phase 2, which is how do we best support many young people in secondary schools with mental health problems, with anxiety, with issues that are meaning they're not attending. And we're looking at different models to support that for those young people. Catrina can maybe speak a little bit more about that. Other things that we're working on going forward is to use SCQF credit rating to develop more bespoke programmes. We as a college work really well with SCQF around credit rating. There's some really good work taking place with sometimes community programmes, sometimes commercial work. But we see a real space to develop some more bespoke programmes that are maybe not obvious mainstream qualifications, but might be things like developing financial skills for young people, or digital and online safety, or other areas that schools are maybe telling us it would be helpful for the young people to develop a skill set in. So that's something that we are working with our partners to develop, and we'll hopefully use SCQF to do that. I've mentioned foundation apprenticeships and the challenges around that. There was the 2-year model, obviously, at level 6, and a number of programmes have reduced to a 1-year level, which means 2 days in college for the young people, and that has proven very difficult to commit to for some schools. So foundation apprenticeships are a challenge, and we've been unable to meet our targets around those in Glasgow. So again, any feedback on that would be welcome. And finally, something that's really important has been the communication and monitoring that we enable school staff to use. So we've developed a portal that allows live information around applications, attendance, progression, attainment, so that school staff can get live readouts anytime of their young people who are attending college. And that's something that Catrina's worked really hard with our technical staff to put in place. But I think it's been really valuable for staff in schools to ensure that they know very quickly where and what's happening with the young people. And that's also being used to enable school staff to share information that might be around learning support needs, learning inclusion needs for those young people coming into college. So the transitions are, that key transition stage can be picked up as much as possible. So I'll pause there, and I think we've still got 5 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, for any thoughts, feedback or questions. So I'll stop sharing that just now, and hopefully that's gone from the screen. I'm happy to pick up any questions, and myself or Catrina will try and feedback on anything, but just give you a flavour there of some of the work taking place in Glasgow, and specifically at Glasgow Clyde.
That's great. Thanks so much, Eric. I think everyone will agree it was a really great presentation and really informative, and the absolute range of things that you're actually using the SCQF for, and the kind of partnership is quite phenomenal, really. And I know just the impact that has. I mean, certainly, one of the things that I was really picking up was the work that you do in the EVIT programme, and the work that's doing, so that's providing progression routes, but actually having a real societal impact and having a real helping hand for, kids who are at the kind of furthest away from the senior phase. So I don't know, has anyone got any questions? If you have, please just put your hand up or shout, even if you don't want to put your hand up. Just while people are kind of thinking through their questions and things like that, Eric, can I just bring up the foundation apprenticeship stuff? I think that's something that you were quite keen to get some views on. So what's your thoughts on why those haven't been as successful, particularly in Glasgow and the area? You mentioned that particularly Glasgow. What's your thoughts on that? And then we can maybe invite in some other thoughts if others are finding that an issue as well, and maybe see if we can get a discussion going on that.
I mentioned the 2-year and then the 1-year models. I don't know, Catrina, do you want to come in based on your recent experience as to what the barriers might be?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that's kind of coming through for us is we were doing a lot of 2-year programmes, and schools and local authorities were then kind of saying to us, okay, this is maybe not working. We've got young people who don't even think the year ahead, never mind 2 years ahead. So when it's coming to the second year, they think they want to do it when they're applying, but it's turning out that they don't, so they're not following through. So on their request and working with local authorities and schools, they asked for us to give the short delivery model, which is obviously over a year. So we tried it this year. So all of our programmes have kind of shifted from the 2 year to the 1 year. It's a higher commitment because it's 2 days a week. And we're now being told that they don't want to commit to that either. So it's I think it's a time commitment. That's basically what's coming through for us. But I would be interested to hear what's from a school perspective. I met with SDS the other day to see how we could actually kind of try and do something. So there are thoughts of what we'll be piloting something that maybe it'll be an NPA and they'll sign up to a work placement, which will be bolted on to the end. We're trying to think of as many things that we can do to make it possible for young people. So they might do a work placement for 3 weeks within the timetable change. That could be a way around it. So they'll be doing their NPA part on a Tuesday and Thursday afternoon as normal, kind of senior phase timetabling, but then bolt on a work placement, and that will be working with the school to get the time best for the young person. So we're trying to kind of overcome barriers, but we don't know what we don't know sometimes, so it's really difficult.
Okay, thanks very much, Catrina. Does anyone have any comments or questions on that, or any suggestions? If you pop your hand up, then I'll bring you in. Edward, I'll bring you in. You've been patient and had your hand up. So, your comment or question, please.
Hi folks. My question was with regards to the SCQF credit rating process. We'll touch on a bit later on with some of the journey we're on. I'm in a secondary school setting, by the way, and looking at co-authoring qualifications. My question was to do with what kind of timescale from initiation and ideation of what you'd like to do in terms of matching curriculum to young people's interests, and then how long would it take then to get to the point where it's been credit rated, if that's the term?
I can come back, Edward, quickly. I'm sure the SCQF staff are all champing at the bit to come in there, but from our college's perspective, we have credit rated different units in areas, some of which have been to support, for example, ESOL provision or additional supported learning or sustainability units. And if the staff have got some experience in developing course descriptors or understanding SCQF levels, it doesn't take too long. We've got a process that's quite well mapped out, and they just have to give us some evidence around what the content's going to look like, what the scale of the unit or the units would look like, and just what SCQF credit points and level that would maybe come in at. And then we would have a discussion with a course team or a design team to do that. But from start to finish, we can now do it in a number of weeks if there's a course design team that have got some knowledge of a curriculum area. But again, it's a process that needs to be taken really seriously to make sure that the units that come out the other end are robust and reliable, and obviously would then sit on the SCQF site. So yeah, it can be a reasonably short timescale depending on the team, if they're in a school or in a college, that wish to make those developments.
Okay. Thanks, Edward. Sheila, I see your hand up there. So you're the rep in the SCQF framework that's going to come in and answer the question as well then.
Yes. Hi, Edward. I think, timings can, differ from our credit rate, from one credit rating body to another, so from different colleges and HAIs, etc. But what we do offer is a workshop online free of charge called Would You Credit It, that you can sign up for, and it just gives for organisations perhaps that want to know a little bit about what you need to do to submit a programme for credit rating, etc. And working with a credit rating body, you can sign up, and that gives you a bit of information to get you started on the process. So it might be quite good keep an eye out on our website for the next Would You Credit It workshop.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sheila. And Fiona and Nicola have popped some details about that programme into the chat, so you can click on the links there and that should take you straight there. So thanks very much, Edward, for your question, and thanks to Eric and others for their answers there. Any other questions or any other comments? Anybody want to have a chat about foundation apprenticeships, or anyone got any questions about any of the Glasgow Clyde's programmes? Or
Marie, I was just going to say, to finish with, I should have said, if anyone wants to contact us beyond the event, Catrina or myself, and talk a little bit more about anything that's going on, then feel free to do so. Happy to do that.
Great stuff. Okay, just a final question. No, and nothing in the chat. Good stuff. Okay, well, we're bang on time, which is very unusual when I'm chairing something. So I'm going to go on and try and keep myself on track there as well. So thanks very much to Eric and Catrina there. As I said, really useful session, really informative session, and great to hear of all the work that's happening there in terms of utilising the SCQF framework and the Ambassadors Programme to be able to do that. It's fantastic. Next up, we're going to move on other end of the country, up north, up to North East College, and up to NESCOL, and Lauren MacAskill there, who is the School College Partnerships Manager at NESCOL, along with Ed Walton, who is the Deputy Head Teacher at their partner in Fraserburgh Academy, and they're going to talk about the partnership that they've developed between the school and the college. So over to you, Lauren.
Hi everyone. I promise I will also try and keep everything to time, but I do have a tendency to talk, so somebody just give me a nudge if we're going on a little bit.
I'll give you a wee nudge, Lauren, but you've got plenty of time, don't worry.
Can everyone see that presentation?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So my name is Lauren MacAskill. I'm the Schools College Partnership Manager at North East Scotland College, joined by Ed Walton, so we'll kind of do a dual presentation for you today. So like City of Glasgow, we've got a really broad offer of schools courses, SCQF levels 4 to 7. We've got around 1,300 pupils enrolled in our programmes. But today we want to look specifically at our partnership with Fraserburgh Academy, who have used the SCQF framework to create a really different approach to S4 in the senior phase, with input from North East Scotland College. The partnership is one that we're both really proud of, and it's led to some absolutely fantastic opportunities for the pupils in the school. So hopefully today the presentation and Q&A will cover kind of the fantastic things that can come from schools and colleges working closely together using the framework. So for a bit more context, we have partnerships with 28 schools across 2 local authorities, Aberdeen City and Aberdeenshire. But Fraserburgh Academy has consistently been the school from which we accept the highest number of full-time students and the largest cohort of pupils undertaking college courses in their school timetable. So the figures on the screen, you can see that in 2021, 54% of school leavers from Fraserburgh came to the college. In 2022, that grew to 59%. Our data for 2023-24 is not finalised yet, as we have some February start courses, which it's likely that Fraserburgh pupils will enrol onto, but those figures should be finalised once we get into the new year. But they're really a fantastic reflection of the relationship between the school and the college, as is the increasing number year on year of pupils who are undertaking a college course as part of their school timetable. So I suppose a bit of a history to our partnership. We have a campus in Fraserburgh, which is very close to the academy, and that proximity was one of the reasons our partnership was formed back when Fraserburgh campus was known as Banff Buchan College pre-merger, and we've worked together for nearly 2 decades. So our early partnership involved things like 1-day or half-day courses or experience sessions, with college certificates as opposed to a recognised qualification. But as many of you on the call will know, the landscape of vocational qualifications grew, and with that, so did our offer. Skills for work became a large part of what we offer, giving pupils the ability to select vocational qualifications as part of their school timetable. But we also helped very early on with the delivery of hires that otherwise would have been unavailable to pupils, it's like higher psychology, for example. And like all colleges, our offer has continued to grow. So, City of Glasgow have already mentioned this, but we've not just got skills for work qualifications, we've got NPAs, we've got City and Guilds qualifications, foundation apprenticeships. We also operate sponsored initiatives like our Shell Engineering scheme, our Girls in Energy scheme. And last year, our schools course offer across all of our locations had almost 60 courses available. So Fraserburgh pupils from S4 and S6 had a choice of 28 of those based at Fraserburgh campus or in the school or at our Scottish Maritime Academy, and broadly comparable to SCQF level 4 to 6 or at SCQF level 4 to 6. So I suppose now that we've had a bit of history, I think it's worth hearing from Ed about how they have used the framework to inform their senior phase delivery, particularly with regards to S4. So Ed, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, folks. So one of the main things that happened in the last 6 years, I'd say, is we changed the working week so that young people in the senior phase could choose to do a college course and have no impact on their other school courses. That was a major change, and it took the reflection that I had was that by doing that, it wasn't like a Sophie's choice of, do I do my in-school subjects and have a clean run at that, or do I do the transition experience of putting one foot in the college while still being at school, and the adult learning environment and all the benefits of doing a schools links course. So by changing the format of the working week, by allowing all young people to have a shot at college if they wished, it meant that we could offer everyone that. And what happened was in the first few years, it gradually more and more young people took a college option as part of their senior phase course. And then the college then responded by offering us more and more choice, as Lauren's described. And then it reached critical mass, so that it arrived at the point where every fourth year student would look to college as being the default, that it became a matter of fact. It's not whether you'll do a college course, but which one will I do? And then for the remainder of the fourth years that aren't doing a college course, then we look at things like work placement or volunteering or another kind of learning in context. You'll all be aware of the Hayward Review and recommendations for things like learning in context and so on. So we genuinely feel that was a major change. By changing the infrastructure, it meant that then it allowed all young people to take up the option. So that was a major change. And as for the fourth year curriculum, again, touching on the journey we've gone on since the 2021 Into the Future OECD review, and whilst the Hayward review into qualifications were ongoing, we did a deep dive into our curriculum, because we recognized a lot of the indictments that were written in the OECD Into the Future paper in 2021, we were guilty of. Very much exam oriented, very much the exam tail wagging the curriculum dog. And we recognized that there was a lot of rote learning and, formulaic learning. And so we looked at our fourth year curriculum and we analysed most of our learners in fourth year go on to do a fifth year in either school or at college, as you've seen that with the full-time progression stats. So we asked ourselves, well, what is the point of fourth year qualifications then? And the point we realised was that we wanted it to be an opportunity for deeper learning, more contextualised learning, so we looked at the shelf of the SQA. And I'm learning a lot here about maybe there's other shelves I could look at as well with the SCQF. And we said, well, our aim is to look at level 5 in fourth year and level 4, rather than national 5 and national 4. And we presented ourselves with a whole lot of challenge to look at what would light up, what curriculum would light up our young people, what would be regionally relevant for the northeast of Scotland in terms of content, and then we would then look for qualifications that would allow us to teach that content, if that makes sense. So we went curriculum first, then qualifications second. And we, in collaboration with the college, were able to look line by line at every subject area and design a new approach to a qualification, whether that was an NPA or whether it was a combination of units that would maybe add up to the same credit points as a National 5. And the college were absolutely essential for us in terms of reassuring young people and parents, because I was able to, once we'd done that journey of design, I was able to then sit with the sector heads at college who looked at each of those qualification lines and then gave us the thumbs up of whether that was a relevant progression starting point from fourth year into maybe a fifth year at college. So that gave us a real reassurance that we were on the right track. Also, in terms of collaborating with the college were instrumental in helping us decide what learning mattered. That was the big question we were trying to ask ourselves: what learning matters for our fourth year? And so the college helped us put together a training day for all of my curriculum staff to meet with their equivalents at college and also at the local universities, Robert Gordon University and University of Aberdeen. So we had a big shared training day asking that question of what learning matters and what is the regional labour market needs. And then that allowed my teachers to then go back from that training day to design our new fourth year. And then that was what then got vetted by the college. So that was a really important journey in terms of how the college was kind of in that central position in coordinating with us, the secondary school, and also higher education and employment sectors. So I think I'm going to stop there and let Lauren take over with the responding to needs part.
Thank you very much, Ed. So you'll see there's a lot of exciting and interesting things happening with regards to our partnership and in the school in and of itself. But one thing that our strong partnership has allowed us to do is support the school when they've identified gaps in their curriculum that we've been able to help fill. So supporting both the school and the young people and their needs. So just one example of that is, so last year, one of the school's home economics teachers went on leave, which left the school without cover for practical cookery classes. So the college luckily had capacity within our Fraserburgh hospitality team, and we were able to step in and support the school with this. So rather than offering National 4 practical cookery, we took the initiative in partnership with the school to deliver a level 4 skills for work hospitality qualification, meaning that the pupils were still gaining a qualification at the same level with progression pathways into further study, whether that was on a full-time basis or into a foundation apprenticeship or onto another schools course. In fact, this year, when another practical cookery teacher left the school, we added a level 5 qualification to our offer for Fraserburgh Academy, so that any pupils who had enjoyed level 4 in school last year had an in-school progression route delivered by the same team who they were familiar with, but giving them that progression pathway with an SCQF level attached to it. And alongside that, Ed's already covered the partnership between the curriculum and the school when it came to the development of their S4 curriculum. We did make sure that based on those conversations, ensure that the entry requirements to our courses considered the changes that had been made at Fraserburgh Academy, so that the qualifications they were delivering, where appropriate, could be an entry requirement alongside traditional Nat 4s and Nat 5s. And we also made sure that our curriculum teams who would be reviewing applications were aware of those changes, so that they knew when they looked at an application from a Fraserburgh Academy pupil, if they weren't saying National 4s or National 5s on that application, they could recognise what the equivalent was that the young person might come to us with as an entry requirement for their course. And that's very much been a whistle-stop tour of our partnership. I'm sure we could have waxed lyrical about it for much longer than we have. And of course, if anyone has any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. But looking forward, I think both of the institutions hope that our relationship continues to thrive, continues to grow. We can present more opportunities for pupils at Fraserburgh Academy to access enjoyable and engaging learning opportunities, both in school and in college. And we ultimately want to ensure that pupils are presented with clear progression pathways and that they recognise the importance of the levels associated with those pathways, so that they can make the most informed decision about their future. And also we've got a couple of kind of goals that we're working towards at the moment, which Ed will briefly cover before we stop to take any questions.
Yes, that's Ed doing it now. I just realised. So, yeah, some of our next steps. you know, if there are any secondary school teachers in the call, they'll be acutely aware of some of the recommendations from Hayward and so on. But obviously we're trialing what it means to have an ongoing assessed fourth year predominantly. And we're also trying to gauge different accountability measures. What does it mean to do a quality education, and trying to escape just the single measure of your August exam results as being the single metric. So one of the things that we're looking to do in the future as a partnership is actually to use completion rates of what would have been our fifth years, who have progressed from their Skills for Work or Schools Links and their fourth year with us, and they've gone to MacAskill for their fifth year. But we would like to keep in touch with them as a data point to see how have they gotten on with that year, and to use the completion rate that year to see as that's an index to us of the quality of our service during their broad general education and their fourth year. In other words, if somebody goes on to progress to MacAskill and does well that first year at MacAskill, that's a sign that we set them up to succeed, if that makes sense. So we're looking at this idea of a shared data. And I know that's certainly something that has been recommended, this idea of a data hub would be really useful for us to be able to keep in touch with those data. At the moment, we get sustained positive destination data of around February time, but it's that, in our opinion, we would want it but for the end of the year as well. And also to build on some of our qualifications that we've built this year is to actually go further with our collaboration with curriculum teams to look at co-design work, so that our fourth year qualifications that have got a very strong progression connection, almost like an articulation. You know how colleges have articulation relationships between FE and HE. We would like to look at articulation relationships between secondary education and FE, so that somebody that maybe starts maybe a journey with engineering in fourth year at school has a relationship there for the way their curriculum dovetails with what they do the following year at college. So those are some of our next step journeys. So it's exciting relationship that we're absolutely super proud of. And again, as Lauren said, there's maybe another 10, 15 examples of the relationship, even in first and second year, that are numerous and wonderful ways of building a transition from secondary school to further education that we could talk about. But there's only so much time today. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thanks very much. Just an amazing presentation, just filled with so much information and just so much positivity, I think. So thanks very much to both you, Lauren, and Ed, for that. Please feel free to pop your hand up if you've got any questions again, or pop them into the chat box. I'm going to take chair's prerogative and just ask the first question while others are thinking about that. One of the things that really struck me there was the partnership that both of you have got. You were the perfect tag team in terms of your presentation, and I just wonder, the real benefit of that is obviously, the fact that you both have got a really good partnership with one another. So do you think that's really important in terms of having, the school ambassador, the college ambassador, and being able to work together? And also, you'd mentioned the curriculum teams and actually the curriculum teams working across, the college, the universities and the school together. That just sounded so positive, and such a great idea. So just there's probably a couple of things in there, but actually the kind of personal, ambassadorial role that you've got and the benefit of that, and, how you got the curriculum teams together and the benefit that you think you got from that, because it just sounds fantastic.
I think certainly the relationship between myself and Ed, but also at all levels, at higher levels than us, there's a really good working relationship, and the local authority relationship as well. It's not just unique to Fraserburgh and MacAskill, but I suppose we are unique in the way that our partnership is so historic and so ingrained within the school curriculum. But we are trying to foster those relationships across all of the schools in our region. I suppose Fraserburgh in many ways is a guinea pig for a lot of things that we do, but it's positive. And if there are things that don't work, we learn from that and we go forward on that together as a partnership. In terms of the piece of getting the curriculum involved with the school, that again is something that we're trying to replicate with other schools in the region. It wasn't an easy task, I would say, to coordinate availability, especially when you involve 2 universities, but the benefits of it have been numerous in terms of the college's relationship with the universities and all 3 institutions' relationship with the school. I don't know if you want to come in on that, Ed, because that was actually before I started this job. So Ed might have more of an idea.
Yeah. To the general answer to your question is that I've been in post for 7 years, and Lauren's predecessor was just as positive and upbeat and solutions focused, and there was very much that idea of what the schools need. Let's make it happen, and also gentleman Robert, who is just above Lauren, was instrumental in terms of bringing together the universities. And it's that piece I was saying before, like, you know, I think it was in one of the recent Scottish Funding Council papers, which kind of are located colleges as the kind of a real central role, you know, within communities, because they have got that very, very close finger on the pulse between local authorities, universities, and employment and industry. So they have got this rare opportunity within a community to play that role. I would also point out that the principal of MacAskill used to be Lauren's job once upon a time. And I think that really shows, because he is absolutely white hot on the school liaison and the school partnerships across the piece, across the whole authority, as being, you know, you could argue it's a real shop front for the college to make sure that it's right and to get as many young people spending time at the different campuses as possible whilst they're still at school, because there's an obvious selling point there. But beyond that, I think just that idea of having the open-mindedness, in the same way that Lauren was saying about the people above us, you know, the head teacher used to play my role. And so having these people that know what it's like to have that heavy operational burden, and there is an awful lot of operational load with it that comes with all of this growth, but also that having the strategic goal. With regards to the piece where we brought everybody together, yes, that we were lucky that RGU, Robert Gordon University, they've got a really well-invested widening access team, and they came on board very early on to co-design that day, and get a lot of goodwill, just an awful lot of goodwill, and people giving up some time just to kind of make something a bit different happen. It was what it took. And what we got out of it, for people on first name terms across the different institutions, that helped. And then being able to then put a little bit of squeeze on colleagues to then say, look, you know who they are now, you've got their contact details, let's keep that going. COD example, my head of practical metal and woodwork now is able to pick up the phone or the Zoom or whatever to their equivalent at the faculty manager up at MacAskill, and now they've been designing what we've been calling an industry standard, a kind of end of the course projects within woodwork, so that there is the added level. So you've met the pass mark, but let's do this, because this is what the colleges has told us is the next step up to help with, you know, you've got these last few weeks left. Let's do these projects to really get the transition up into the next level up. Anyway, I'll finish that there.
That's great. Thanks very much, Ed. Really informative. That's great. You'll see, just to kind of circle the square, you were talking about the report that mentions colleges as being the kind of the middle of the regional circle in terms of being the kind of community anchors. Pauline's just posted up something in the chat there, which is a link to the skills delivery landscape, which was James Withers' review, which was the what had mentioned that. So I think all of these partnerships are great examples, and I think some of them have been used in the Withers report as well, that is informing government and informing government policy about how great school and college partnerships are and how important it is. And I think the example that you've given there really does exemplify how, you know, working together with the schools, the colleges, and bringing in the universities as well actually really shows that partnership working and how it really benefits, and particularly benefits the pupils and the students at both institutions. So that's great. Grant, I'm going to bring you in. Thanks very much for your patience. If you've got a comment or a question, please.
Yeah, thank you. No, I just wanted to say that I thought that was a really positive example of how schools and colleges can work together, because I feel at the moment there's probably a little bit of feeling that schools are starting to deliver more of the kind of traditional college units that would normally have been delivered kind of within kind of HE and FE environments and the kind of NPAs and things like that. But I think that this was a really kind of refreshing example of how schools and colleges could actually work together to kind of enhance pupil experience and give them alternative pathways into different routes of education and things like that as well. So I think it was a really positive example of how other colleges and schools could potentially look to generate partnerships moving forward.
Great, thanks very much, Gran. That's really appreciated. Does anyone have any other comments? Anyone agree with Grant or want to raise any questions, comments? Anyone from SCQF got anything that they want to chip in any of that either? No, they're up and really quiet. Fiona.
I was just going to say, I know Helen's got her hand up as well, but I was just going to say how impressed I am about the work that everyone's doing, and thank you very much. That was really all I was going to say there. It's amazing the work that's going on, and I couldn't believe when you said you 28 schools you were working with. I thought, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun and a lot of hard work. So well done. That's all I was going to say. So thanks. Thanks for that.
Thanks very much, Fiona.
Helen and Pauline, I'll try and lower my hand.
Yeah, no worries. Helen, bring you in. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Yeah, really, really interesting presentations, and the collaboration between the schools and the colleges is absolutely crystal clear and fantastic to see. Edward, I'm particularly interested about the concepts. Maybe I'm interested in number crunching, but the people for your S4 cohort that take part in a school college partnership programme, to then track them on if they then make a positive destination on to college and continue. I think that's fascinating. So I'll wait with interest if there's data to be published or shared, because I think that's where there are dots and connections that will be absolutely crystal clear and just evidence that, you know, that those skills and pathways and confidence maybe young people in S4 will make as they transition on, particularly if it's on to the a college destination. So thank you for sharing that. Going back to one of your earlier questions, you talked about credit rating. So I'm going to just pop in a link, just a guide that we created earlier in the year for anyone who's interested, if you're interested in finding out a bit more about credit rating. So I'm going to pop that into the chat now. But yeah, congratulations to both Clyde, MacAskill and Fraserburgh Academy. Lots of great work. Thank you for presenting today.
Thanks very much, Helen. Really appreciate that. Ed, do you want to respond to that, and then I'll bring in Pauline for the last voice.
Yeah, a couple of points. The first one was it was to do with the framework, the SCQF framework, and how we have really lent on that. We have absolutely lent on that in terms of trying to shift the needle on what is a valid education. So we're really trying to lean into the idea of the language of the level, and how crucial that is to try and change the culture from parents and also young people and also employers to try and recognise the qualifications with a level attached to it is the way forward in order to let us redesign our curriculum and to be more regionally relevant. Because we did find that the narrowness of the only game in town is an NQ, you know, National 4, National 5, National 6, let's call it higher, was very restrictive. And so this idea of you know, the opening up the language of the level has been crucial. The second point I was going to make was there is a double-edged sword to having this vast number of young people having a college course. Some of our young people, some of the barriers is that I've now got them saying, oh well, I'm doing the college course, that's the main thing. I don't need to bother everywhere else in my studies. And I'm like, oh no, you still need to do your metalwork in school, you know. So yeah, there is that side of it that you know, there's no such thing as a silver bullet.
Yeah.
You know, everything is all the progression you've heard and all the development is amazing, but you know, the nuts and bolts is still hard work. And as Lauren knows full well, we still have a long way to go, and we would never say that we're the finished article yet.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks very much, Edward. I think that really helps people to kind of determine what they might want to do and some of the barriers that they might have and some of the perceptions from the students about one being equivalent to the other and stuff. So time is marching on, so I'm going to give the last word to SCQF's Chief Executive, Pauline, who's had their hand up. Thanks very much for your patience, Pauline. Your comment or question, please.
Well, firstly, thank you very much from me to the speakers. So enjoyed hearing about what you're doing, and it's really, really good to share good practice like this. But we love hosting events like that, thanks to my team organising them so efficiently. So what I just wanted to add was really on the back of Ed's point around credit rating and the questions that we've had around that, is that we're actually working with CDN, and there will be an announcement, I think, some marketing coming out in the next few days on the 23rd in the afternoon, to have a short session just around credit rating functions that colleges currently have and can work very successfully with school college partnerships to facilitate basically addressing those regional skills needs. And some of the education reform proposals which could perhaps have unintended consequences for those, for the ability that colleges currently have to do that. So we wanted really to come together with CDN to have an awareness raising session. It won't be that long, just to make you aware of some of the perhaps less positive consequences of some of the reforms under discussion that I don't think some colleges are perhaps aware of at the moment. So there will be more information on that, and we'll obviously make sure that everybody that's attended today certainly gets an invitation to that if they can make it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Pauline. Really appreciate it. Thanks just from me. Just thanks to everyone for their contribution. Thanks to our speakers for really great presentations and really informative presentations on the work, and I think that they will all give participants a real flavour of what can be done, that I'm sure that they'll take back to their institutions and leave. So thanks very much from myself. I'm going to hand over now, I think, to Donnie, who's just going to kind of summarise and talk about next steps in terms of the event. Thanks.
Thanks, Marie, and thanks on behalf of everyone at SCQF for agreeing to be our chair today and keeping us on time. Very kind of you. Last steps for us is just to highlight where we can support you as well. If you're in school, then get involved in our school ambassador programme or reach out and find out ways how we could support you to develop some flexible pathways similar to what Ed has done there with Lauren, and also get involved in our college ambassador programme, which Fiona can tell you a little bit more about in the last minute. Yep.
Thanks, Donnie. We've got 7 college ambassadors at the moment, always looking for more, and we are sort of currently looking for ways to revamp that programme, encourage more colleges to join us. We are working on that just now, but if anyone is interested in becoming a college ambassador, then please get in touch with me. And equally, we've heard such good stories today from everyone. If anyone has any sort of learner journey stories they would like to share with us, any pupils or students that have progressed, Eric and Catrina, you talked a lot about your ESOL and all your sort of community work that you do. These are always great stories to share about how people have used the SCQF. And again, Ed and Lauren, if you've got any learner journey stories you want to share with us, we're always really interested to hear that. So again, like Donnie, I would just like to say thanks to everyone, and the recording will be made available in the next few days on our social media channels. So thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you all hopefully again next year if we can get some more interesting speakers. It never seems to be in short supply, so thank you very much. And thanks to Marie and all the colleagues for presenting. So Eric and Catrina and Lauren and Ed, much appreciated.